So this is your 1.1, and I'm happy to be your lecturer today for this particular unit, which is communication skills. Now, when you talk about communication skills, it's a common unit in our university, and it's not an elective unit. It's a common compulsory unit for students who are in 1.1. And therefore, you are required to attend this class, and you are supposed to look at your timetable very well. Look at your timetable very well, because there are some people, they're in this class, but you're not supposed to be in this class. You are just in this class, and you're supposed to be in another class. That simply tells you that you're not supposed to be in this class. For example, if you go to the portal, you will see the group of students that are supposed to be in this class. If you are doing a unit, that I have not listed there, and you're in this class, then you are in the wrong class. For example, if you are doing diploma in communication and media studies, you are supposed to be in this class. If you are doing diploma in film technology, you are in the right class. If you are doing diploma in human resource management, you are in the right class. If you are doing diploma in accounting and finance, you are in the right class. If you are doing diploma in purchasing and supplies management, you are in the right class. If you are doing diploma in business management, you are in the right class. Your lecturer is Mr. David Maina. If you didn't hear your course being mentioned there, then you are in the wrong class. Go and check your timetable and attend your class as per the timetable that you have been shared. I know this is going to be a confusion for some of us for almost the whole of this semester. But I've already told you, diploma in media studies, diploma in film technology, diploma in human resource management, diploma in accounting and finance, diploma in purchasing and supplies management, diploma in business management. All these students are supposed to be in this class. Any other person doing any other diploma, you are in the wrong class. Like I can see DIRD, I can see DCPY, and so on and so forth. I can also see DIT. If you are doing DIT, you're in the wrong class. If you are doing DIRD, you're in the wrong class. If you are doing DCPY, you're in the wrong class, and so on and so forth. So the classes that I've just mentioned are the ones that are supposed to be taught. So kindly go check your timetable very well, and you will realize, or you'll be able to know the when you're supposed to attend this particular class. So having said that, I take this opportunity to welcome every one of you to this class. I'll be taking you through this unit for the rest of this semester. Today is our first lesson, and you are required to at least attend 75% of the class for you to be eligible to sit for the exam. If you do not attend 75% of the class, then you will not be able to sit for the exam. The attendance will be automatic based on the activities that are going to be put for you. So if at the end of the class I put an activity, the discussion forum and maybe the quiz, and you don't do them, then that means your attendance will remain like that, and you will be in for it. You will explain to us why you did not attend classes. So that is it. Another thing is that when you're joining this class, kindly join with your registration number. Don't join with your names like Zainab, Khalif, Tuye Halake, and Tracy Magdalene, among many others. You should be joining with your registration number so that we know that you are one of us. So next time when you join with your names, I'll just kick you out and you will never join this class. You will always be out. So having said that, I think I should start my class. This class is supposed to start at 11 a.m. to 2. 11 a.m. to 2, and that is it. So I want to share my screen so that we can start our class. Other things, we are going to handle them as we proceed. Also ensure that when you're joining the class, ensure that you have enough internet. Ensure you are seated a place where there is no noise, no movement, and so on and so forth. Because if you are seated in a place where there is noise, it will become very difficult for you to understand. Ensure that you have enough internet. If you're using phones or laptops, ensure that it is fully charged to enable you actually follow up consistently. So having said that, today is day 1, and today we are looking at introduction to communication skills. So introduction. So when you talk about communication skills is part of our daily lives, just like you breathe. For example, you cannot just say, today I am not going to breathe. Today I am mad about myself and therefore I'm not going to breathe. That one is not going to be possible. Because saying that you're not going to breathe, just like saying, I'm killing myself. Communication is something that is part of our daily lives, and it's just like breathing. So we use communication for various purposes. We use communication to express ourselves. For example, if you are given an assignment and you're not able to do it on time, and you want to go and meet your supervisor or your lecturer, you will go and express yourself. You will communicate and express yourself so that you can be understood. We use communication to interact with others in our lives, because you cannot interact with someone and you are not communicating. You cannot be a friend to anybody and you are not communicating. People need to know who you are, what is your aim, what is your interest, and so on and so forth, so that they can know that they can check whether they can, or they can see whether they can accommodate you in their lives or not. So we use communication to interact with others in our lives. And also we use communication to fulfill a variety of needs. We use communication to fulfill a variety of needs. For example, if you're looking for a job, you will write a cover letter, a CV, and you will put them in an envelope and send them to a certain organization. So you are looking for a job. Suppose you are walking a long distance and you feel thirsty and you have not carried water. You will just look for a nearby house, you knock the door, and you tell them to help you with a glass of water or drinking water. So in other words, we use communication to fulfill a variety of needs. We also use communication to persuade. We use communication to persuade, and this means that if you are a sales and marketing person, you are selling a product, you are from XYZ company, you will need to lure people to buy your product. You will need to motivate people to buy your product. You'll need to convince them, to tell them why your product is better than your competitor's product. So therefore, you are using communication to persuade, to tell them that my product is the best compared to my competitor's product because of 1 or 2 or 3 reasons. So no matter your profession, no matter what you do, no matter your occupation, it doesn't matter the occupation that you do. It doesn't matter. People spend a great amount of time communicating. That is why you look at today's lesson, we have different groups doing this communication unit. We have a diploma in film technology. We have diploma in purchasing and supplies management. We have people who are doing diploma in communication and media studies. We have people doing diploma in accounting and finance. We have people doing diploma in human resource management. We have people doing diploma in business management and administration, and so on and so forth. The question is, why did they make this unit a compulsory unit? It's because communication is like the air you breathe in, and you cannot decide not to communicate. So it is therefore for you to possess excellent communication skills. Whether you are an engineer, whether you are a business person, whether you are an accountant, whether you are a customer care provider, whether you are a tout, or whether you are a driver, you need to have good communication skills, because at the end of the day, you will need to communicate to the people that need your assistance, or to the people that you need their assistance. So having said that, simply as we are on the introduction part, we ask ourselves, what is communication then? So what is communication? Communication is the key to all human activities. Communication is the key to all human activities. And without the ability to communicate, a man would not have the ability to interact with others. I told you from the onset that you cannot interact with other people if you don't know how to communicate. If you cannot tell us who you are, where you are coming from, what are you, why you need me to be your friend, then I will not be your friend. So without the ability to communicate, a human being or a man would not be able to have the ability to interact with others in order to share your feelings. For example, maybe you don't want to do this course, and you did not share your feeling with your guardian. You did not share your feeling with the person paying fees for you. So communication helps you to share your feelings. Even children, they share their feelings to you by crying. If a child doesn't need you, you will see her feelings. You will see her crying, or you will see that child crying. You will see that child running away from you. Sometimes even when they don't know how to talk, you will see them running away from you. They don't need anything from you. They don't want anything to do with you, because they are communicating. They're actually telling you, just mind your own business. I'm not interested. So with communication, we are able to share our thoughts. We are able to share our thoughts. What do you think? What you think about certain things, or what you think about certain issues. For example, what do you think about the floods that are currently here with us? What is your thoughts about the heavy rains? You can share your thoughts on that issue. You can also share your ideas and suggestions. Maybe we don't know what we are supposed to do. Maybe we are in a point where we don't have suggestions, we don't have ideas on how to deal with an issue. With communication, you can share your ideas, you can share your suggestions. So therefore, communication is the key around which human life revolves. So without communication, I don't think you will be having a good life. So communication performs diverse kinds of functions in our lives, such as enhancing social interactions, such as helping us exchange ideas. Communication, it helps us spread knowledge like we are doing right now. All of us are at various places. Some of us, I can see on the video, you are still at our campuses. You are listening to this unit. You are listening to me. Some of you are at home in beds, in dining halls. And maybe some of you are traveling from point A to point B. And we can communicate. I can teach you. So we are saying this, that communication performs diverse kinds of functions in our lives, such as enhancing social interaction. Like some of us are very new. You just had your first class this week. You met the people that you have never met before. You interacted. You told them your names. They told you their names, and you became friends. You exchanged numbers. That is called social interaction. So helping us exchange ideas, communication helps us exchange ideas on how to do things. Like when you're given an assignment, you exchange ideas. How are we going to do, or how are we going to go about it? Communication also helps to spread knowledge. I had started saying that some of us are in school. Some of us are in school. You are listening to me. I'm at home. I'm teaching you from home. Some of us are at their home places, and some of us are traveling. And we can also be able to exchange ideas or spread knowledge. Also, communication helps us gives us opportunity to conduct business among others. Without communication, we cannot conduct business. Whether you are selling vegetables, whether you are selling cars, whether you are selling charcoal, whether you are a tout, whether you are a driver, if you don't know how to communicate, your business will not go well. It will not go well. And you may end up closing that business. So communication then, it comes from the Latin word communis. Communication comes from the Latin word communis, which means common or shared understanding. Common or shared understanding. Sometimes you may be asked in an examination, define the term communication. What will you say? So when you talk about communication, we can simply define communication in a simple way. It is a process of creating common understanding between the sender and the receiver. Thus creating a common understanding. So when you talk about common, we are saying the way I understand something should be the way Magdalene understands. Is it Magdalene? Eh? Is it Madeline or Magdalene? Yes, yeah. That the way I understand something should be the same way Alma Abdi understands it. The way I understand something, or the way I am communicating about something, should be the same way it is being understood by Joan Maina. Because if there is no common understanding, then the feedback will be different. For example, if I tell you that next week there will be no class, this is just an example. We are having a physical class, and then I tell all of you, next week we are not going to have a class. And that week it happens that I'm in that class. I told you there is no class. And then I see all of you coming to class. What does that mean? It simply means that there was no common understanding. The students did not understand what you told them. If there is no common understanding, then there was no communication. Even if I communicated, the reaction was negative, then there was no communication. Therefore, communication is a process of creating a common understanding between the receiver and the sender. If you are told to define communication, you can say that it is a process of creating a common understanding between the sender and the receiver. Because when there is common understanding, the feedback is positive. When there is no common understanding, feedback is negative. So according to Schramm, 1965, communication is a purposeful effort to establish commonness between a source and a receiver. That's what we have said. It is the transmission of message from a source to a receiver. A source is a person who has initiated communication. For example, Tracy can be the first person communicating to me. So you decide, call me in the morning. So who is the source? The source is the third person who starts a communication. So communication is in a process in which people share information, where people share feelings, share knowledge. It is simply sending and receiving of messages. If someone asks you what is communication, it is simply the sending and receiving of messages. It is greatly affected by certain principles that may not be seen, that may not seem obvious. We move on. What are some of the elements of communication? So we have various elements of communication. And one of the elements of communication is sender. Who is a sender? Sender is a source. A sender is a source. Person who has communication, or the person who has an idea, and he wants to communicate to other people. That person with the idea is called the source or the sender. The sender can be a person. The sender can also be an organization. For example, an organization can write you an email telling you that you have qualified for a job. You have been invited for a job interview. So who is the sender? The sender is the organization. As an individual, you can initiate communication. We also have the sender. We also have the receiver. Receiver is a person or an organization that sender intends to send, that the sender intends to send the message. So the receiver is a person with whom the sender interacts with. This is the receiver. Receiver is a person with whom message is intended. Is the person with whom the message is intended. So if a sender has a message, he sends it to the receiver. The receiver receives the message, he sends it back, he replies to the sender. So the sender is an element of communication, the receiver is an element of communication. And they change roles. We talk about sender and the receiver, they change roles. Like when I'm talking to you right now, I am teaching you, I am the sender. At one point, we'll ask you a question, and then you will be the sender, you will be the receiver. Sometimes the sender becomes the receiver, sometimes the receiver becomes the sender. So they change, these roles are exchanged every now and then for mutual understanding. Part two is the message. The message is the idea that you have. Before you communicate to someone, you usually have an idea. That idea that you have is referred to as the message. That idea can be verbal, it can be non-verbal, can be written, can be in any form. The message can be in any form. The message are actual ideas of feelings that the sender wants to share. If you have a feeling, if you have some ideas, if you have some information that you want to share, that is what is referred to as the message. And the message comes in various forms. It can be written, you can write a message, you can pick your call and call the person you want to talk to. You can write an email to that person. You can even use non-verbal cues, your hands, to communicate to that person. I'm assuming a situation whereby a student has come late in a class. The lecturer tells the student, get out. The student becomes so mad that he walks in protest and bangs the door. That is communication. You have communicated non-verbally. So sorry for that. We are saying that message is the idea or feelings that the sender wants to share. I've given an example. Message can be in form of written. Message also can be a carving. It can be a carving. You can carve the image of Mr. David and you carve him very well and you send it to him as a gift. The message can be a painting. The message can also be the clothes that you wear when you're going for demonstration. Look at our doctors when they are on strike. How do they look? What kind of message are they sharing? You don't have to speak throughout the day. Just walk with their placards up, sending a message to us. They are sending a message to the government. They are sending a message to the relevant authorities. So message can be in various forms. Number three, when you talk about elements of communication is channels. And a channel is a path through which a message passes. Channel is a path through which a message passes. A channel can be a television set. A channel can be a radio. A channel can be a newspaper. A channel can be a magazine. A channel can be a poster. A channel can be a placard. A channel can be a banner. It can be a flyer. A channel can be a flyer. Channel is anything that carries the message. It carries your message. A channel can also be a phone. When I write something on the WhatsApp message, today we don't have a class, and that is the channel that I used to communicate to you. Another channel can be face-to-face. When you talk to someone face-to-face, you become channel communication. Number four, we have noise. Noise, when you talk about noise is any interference that keeps the message from being understood. It's a barrier to effective communication. Noise is a barrier to effective communication, and noise, it interferes with communication. Noise takes the attention of them, it takes the attention. For example, noise can come, when you talk about noise again, Noise can be classified into various categories. Before I give an example, noise can be classified into various categories. Example, we have physical noise. Physical noise can be maybe hooting. It can be hooting. The person who is drawing our screen, can you stop that? It shows how idle you are. Where you are, you're supposed to have your book, supposed to have your pen. And if you think that communication skills is easy, wait until you sit for that exam. That's when you will know that exam is not easy. So this DPSM student is writing here. Na hiyo maneno yako. Shows how idle you are, and you should write in note. We are saying that noise is any interference that keeps the message from being understood, like that DPSM student is becoming a noise in our class. You are becoming an interference, what we are doing. Noise comes into various categories, like there are various classification of noise. And one of the classification is that noise is physical. Noise is physical. We talk about noise being physical, we are saying this, like for example, there is a lot of noise in the background, like what is happening. I can hear my cock, my roaster doing what? Producing some noise. That is physical noise. There is a hooting of matatu, there is hooting of matatus, people are making noise. You can barely concentrate with what is happening. Those are called physical noise. Or maybe there is a construction that is happening. That is called physical noise. So when you talk about that, then we also have other noise. Like for example, we have mechanical noise. And the mechanical noise is any noise that comes from maybe, for example, gadgets we are using. Maybe, for example, phone you are using does not have network, even the credit, or even what we call, you don't have enough bundles or the internet. So when you're communicating to that person, there is what we call connections. That one we call it mechanical noise. Those are called mechanical noise. Those ones are called mechanical noise. And we also have what we call semantic noise. Semantic noise, it comes from the way you pronounce things. People may misunderstand you by the way you are pronouncing something. Especially, and you remember in Kenya, we have people from various counties. People are from various counties, the way they pronounce words. You may not understand what they are saying. There are people who say, instead of saying padlock, you will hear them saying badlock. So you are wondering what is badlock. People, when they are saying something like, remember my chemistry teacher used to teach me, I was in Form 1. He used to say, instead of saying it burns with a blue flame, the Bunsen burner burns with a blue flame, he would say the Bunsen burner burns with a blue flame. That is semantic noise. People may not understand what you are saying because of the way you are articulating words, or the way you are pronouncing things. Noise can be very bad. And then apart from semantic noise, we also have psychological noise. Psychological noise comes in when, for example, you are thinking. your brains. You are in class, but your brains are far away. Or you are thinking about something that happened early in the day. You are in class, but you cannot concentrate. Your body is in class, but your minds are very far away. That's called psychological noise. You are not concentrating. When you talk about communication, you have to put your mind direct on what is being said or what you are being taught about. If you don't concentrate on something and you are thinking about other things, then we say that you are facing what we call psychological noise. Apart from that, we also have feedback. Feedback is another element of communication, and feedback is the reaction of the sender, the receiver towards the sender's message. The reaction of the receiver towards the sender's message. Like if you send a message to your friend and that friend doesn't respond to you, that is feedback. That is feedback. If you call someone through your mobile phone and they don't take your phone, that is feedback. Maybe they are busy, or maybe they are so much engaged somewhere, that's why they're not taking your call. Or maybe he's mad at you. So many reasons as to why someone might not pick your call. It is feedback. So feedback is a reaction of the sender's message towards the receiver. The reaction of the sender's message, the reaction of the receiver towards the sender's message. Feedback can be immediate. Feedback can be delayed. For example, if you ask me a question right now, I'll give you an immediate feedback. If you apply for a job in a certain organization, that feedback may be delayed. You may receive communication after 2 or 3 days, or even after a month, even after a week, depending on the organization. That is delayed feedback. Feedback can also be immediate. If you meet someone and you're asking for direction to a certain place, they give you immediate feedback. They tell you, they show you where you're supposed to and what you're supposed to do to get there. We also have the setting. Setting is what we call the setting is what we call the environment. Sometimes we call it context. Setting is the context or the environment. When you talk about the environment, we are saying sometimes you can say some words, some things, they will have different meaning depending on the environment. Like, for example, the word hustler. The word hustler has got different meanings. But now, depending on where you are using the words, it may have a direct meaning. Maybe I mean a person who wakes up very early in the morning, go and look for money. But if I'm using it in another context or environment, it may mean a swindler. It may mean a travel girl. It may mean prostitute. It may mean that kind of things, depending on the environment, the context with which the message is being used, the information is being spread. Then, what are some of the features of communication? Communication, number one, you must know, is irreversible. That's why you're supposed to be very careful when you are talking to your friends. Because whatever you say with your mouth cannot be reversed back. That's why you are told, before you speak, think. You may speak something that may injure someone's reputation, but may injure someone's emotionally. These people, they may end up hating you for what you said. They may never forget what you have just said. That's why you are told, before you speak to someone, before even most likely when, most of the time when you are angry, before you speak, think. Because whatever you say, it might not be forgotten. It might destroy your relationship with that person totally. Communication is reversible. Communication is strategic. Talk about communication, another feature is communication is strategic. It is strategic in such a way that we communicate when we have issues to deal with. Example, if a certain student have not done my assignment, I will communicate strategically, tell him to do the assignment. When you are listening to the news today in the evening, those news are strategic to inform you what has happened, especially during this time when we are receiving very heavy rains, to the point that we are facing floods in almost every part of the country. We'll hear the government saying this is what we are going to do, the victims of floods. That is strategic communication. If you have, for example, you are in conflict with someone, you are in conflict, you are not in good terms with someone, you may call that person, apologize to him, so that at least your friendship may remain. Communication is a panacea, it's not a panacea. Here we are saying, so although communication can be smooth and bumps, and the bumps and strengthen, in other words, we are saying that communication is not smooth as we think. It is not smooth that we think that everything will always work well simply because we are communicating. No. Communication is, in short, is not a solution to everything. There are some times when you are communicating with someone and then another person advises you, wacha kuongea na yeye, wewe mnyamazie. Even though even silence is communication. So communication is not a solution to everything. But number 4, communication is a process. The process that happens very fast, to the point that you cannot even tell that it is a process. It's a process that starts with the sender and ends with feedback. A very long process. Now, when you talk about process of communication, we have various processes of communication. We have Shannon and Weaver here model. Talks about the sender who encodes the message. After encoding the message passes through a channel, then it gets to the receiver. Then the receiver decodes the message, but we don't have what we call feedback. So the same channel has been explained here very well, whereby there is information source. Information source is the sender. There is the transmitter, then the signal. Once the signal is received, then there is also noise in between. Noise is any interference. Noise can be on the side of the receiver. It can also be on the side of the sender. It can also be on the message. The noise can be on the message. Maybe the message cannot be understood, or the message is not clear. Noise also can be on the side of the channel. If you are using a phone that has got very poor network, you may not be able to understand one another. So noise can be on anything. It can be on the source, it can be on the receiver, it can be on the sender, it can be on the path, that is the channel, it can be on the message itself, it can also be what we call anything. It can be from anywhere. So having looked at what we call the communication channel or models, we have the Shannon and Weaver model. And when you look at the Shannon and Weaver model, it attempts to do two things. One, it attempts to reduce the communication process, set a set of mathematical formula. It also attempts to discuss the problems that could be handled with the model. Now that one, I'll give a lot of notes on that. You'll be able to read on it. We have Wilbur Schramm's model, which is here. Also provide notes on this that you read and understand well on Schramm's and Wilbur Schramm's and Shannon and Weaver's model of communication. So then we look at communication as a transaction. The view of communication as a transaction involves not only the physical act of communicating, but also as a psychological one. People are always forming impression in minds of the people who are communicating. So communication as a transaction, it involves three important principles. One, first involves people, or people engaged in communication are sending messages continuously and simultaneously. People engaged in communication are sending messages and continuously and simultaneously. Second, communication events have a past, present, and future. Like, for example, you may say, he talked to me yesterday. And today in the morning, I responded to him. And after some few minutes, he said this about that. Communication as what we call the past, present, and the future. Then you may respond by saying, I'm waiting for him to do this, then I will do this. That is present. And thirdly, participants in communication play certain roles. Participants in communication, the sender and the receiver, they play certain roles. And we have looked at the role of the receiver. So let's look at something else. We are saying that all communication has past, present, and future. We respond to every communication situation by relying on our experiences. So if you know someone well, you're able to make prediction about what to do in the future, on the basis of what you know about him. Like, for example, assume that you're going to meet a friend of yours in town. And you know very well he doesn't keep time. If you agree that you will meet at 8 a.m., najua tu yeye atawezi like 1 hour, he will be there at 9 or 10. That's why we are saying that we all respond to every communication situation relying on our past experiences with the person we are communicating to. So you can make a prediction on your friend, but all you know him very well. Maybe you have decided, you have planned that you meet in town tomorrow at 9. You know very well he doesn't keep time. The first time, also respond to them the basis of your experience. People, when they call you on the phone, you are very alert because they are very sensitive with what you say. There are people who are very careless. Whatever you say, they don't get angry. Sometimes you respond to people based on your experience with them. Like the other day, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he told me when he was in high school, his dad was very, very, very furious, especially if you could get a grade, a C- grade and below. So his dad is a person that speaks jokingly. He's very serious. One day, he got a C-. and he was seated in a dining and he was having his dinner. He was eating. The dad came and said, like a joke, you have decided that you are going to be getting C minuses in this house. So the girl was very busy eating, and then she responded by saying, next time I'll get a C plus and a B. So little did she knew that the dad was serious with the question that she was asking. The dad, the first thing that he had, alijipata amepigwa coffee. He was slapped. She stopped eating and she saw that, that is the time she realized that the dad was very serious. So in other words, she was telling me, my dad speaks like that, but you need to be very, very careful on what he's saying, because you may misjudge him not being serious. In other words, we are saying that sometimes communicate with people based on your experience with them. You can be able to predict what will happen based on your experience to them. In other words, we are saying that all communication, we can end this by saying that all communicators play roles. Roles are parts that we play. Roles are defined by the society and the individual relationships. So they control everything from word, voice, body language. The roles that you play in the society. Like, for example, the way you talk to your dad is your dad. It is not the way you talk to your very close friend. For example, one of the roles you play is that of a student. In this class, the role that you play, that one of a student. Teachers may consider your senses. Parents may see you as considerate son. Roles are not always constant with the relationship. They vary with people's mood, one's moods, with the setting and noise factor. The roles we play, whether established by individual relationships or by society, are also perceived differently by different people. Roles are perceived different by different people. These differences affect the results of communication. Like right now, you are my students. What I expect from you when I ask you a question, don't tell me that you ate yesterday. I expect you to answer questions based on this unit. I expect you to give me your senses, give me your attention. When you get home, if you are a parent, you play a certain role, your children. When you're in my class, your role is a student. When you go home, your role is a parent, or your role is a son, your mother and father. So based on the experience or based on our roles, we communicate differently. Like I'm a parent, I communicate to my children differently, like when I am teaching. The things that serious issues requires seriousness. Something like that. I hope I've communicated. So then we have various or types of levels of communication. This is the last thing I'm looking at today. We have levels of communication. One of the levels of communication is that communication is, we have interpersonal level of communication. Remember, we have looked at roles that we play. Roles that we play in communication. Roles that we play in communication depends on what are you, who are you. If you are a mother, there are certain roles you play in communication. So then we have levels of communication. One of it is intrapersonal communication. Intrapersonal communication. We call them levels or types. Intrapersonal communication is communication within oneself. It is communication within oneself. For example, it is that time when you're communicating to yourself. You are the sender and you are the receiver. In other words, I would say, put it this way, when someone tells you, jiite mkutano, you're the one asking yourself questions, you're the one responding within yourself. It is called intrapersonal communication. Maybe, for example, something has happened in the organization or in class, in school. You keep on asking yourself questions. Why did it happen to me? Maybe because I am Black. Maybe because I don't know how to speak. Maybe because of ABCD. You say, next time, it will not happen. I'll be very furious. You see, you are talking to yourself, responding to yourself. But the sender, you are the receiver. That time, we call it intrapersonal communication. The opposite of that is interpersonal communication. Interpersonal communication is communication between two or more individuals. When you are working with your friends at the end of a class, you are headed home. By exchanging information and ideas, you are laughing for a joke that has been said or that has been put forward for you. Then what you are doing is interpersonal communication. So interpersonal communication is communication between two or more individuals. Not one, but between two or more individuals. Then we also have direct communication. Direct communication is communication. It is very direct. There is nothing that has been hidden about it. It is as plain as it is. It is direct, it is straight and direct to the point. Direct communication, mostly it happens in the West, in Africa and most African countries. We tend to hide things. We don't like saying things directly. Like I happened to talk to a friend of mine who is in Austria. And we were actually talking about direct communication. And she told me here in Austria, they are very direct when they speak. If they don't like you, they will tell you, I hate you on the face. It's not like us. You know, you hate someone, but you beat around the bush. You start saying, no, I don't mean like that. No, you are getting it wrong, blah, blah, blah. Tell that person I hate you on the face. That's how they speak. They don't hide. They don't know how to go around the bush. If you are a thief, they tell you you are a thief. They don't try to garnish it, to tell others that you took it, and then that one does not mean you are a thief. No, you don't try to hide things. So direct communication is communication that is direct to the point. I don't know that you're understanding that. That is called direct communication. If they fire you, they tell you you are fired directly on the face. Not like Africans, they will tell you, oh, because you have come late, you just go back home. Come tomorrow, we see what we can do. Then you come tomorrow, they tell you, oh, the boss is not around. Do this, go back. When the boss is around, we will tell you that he is back so that you can come and talk to him. No. Instead of telling you that we have fired you. That is direct communication. Then we have small group communication. Small group communication is communication between two and, say, for example, 16 people. 16 people. Yeah. That's a small group communication, where these people, they sit together and you communicate as a group. Like when you're given an assignment, and you're told to form groups. So that one we can consider it as a small group communication. And lastly, we have public communication. Public communication is communication between a person and a very big group of people. The way the president communicates to the public during maybe public holidays or during special occasion. You'll see the president, like for example, the other day we had what we call Labor Day. The president stood and spoke something about something on that particular day. Now that is called public communication. Unless there is a question, we'll stop at that point. I'm looking at what you were asking. Is DSM should be in this class? Yes. International relations, we are not supposed to be in this class. So somebody is saying you cannot get my voice. I don't know. I don't understand that. I don't get you. So any question up to that point? Any question? You can raise your hand, ask question. I've unmuted you. You can unmute yourself.
I have a question.
Yes.
How can I mark the register?
Those are issues I will handle after this. Let's talk about questions concerning communication skills. Recording for this class will be put in maybe tomorrow. It will be there. Is Edwin Kahete. Any other question concerning what we have learned today? I'm almost ending class.
How to mark the register?